program tonight because that's a big win. And I think there's a lot to get into with this team. We'll get into the Red Sox a little bit later on in the start that they've had. Celtics picking up their 60th win. And Patriots draft news coming out today. They're going to visit with Drake May. They're going to visit with Jaden Daniels. I've got some real strong thoughts on the draft and some of the coverage that we've had here in recent weeks on the draft. We'll get into that a little bit later on in the program. And anything you want up until midnight, phone lines are open at 617-779-0985. But I want to start with the Bruins. I need to start with the Bruins because, damn it, they're making me believe again. They're doing this to me again, and I'm allowing myself to fall into this trap. And I know it sounds crazy, but I really haven't believed much in the Bruins all year long. And that's probably from coming off of, the disappointment in the first round last year, losing Bergeron, losing Krejci. I never really felt like this team, I certainly felt like they overachieved at the beginning of the year, and I still feel that way. I mean, they're not the best team in hockey. They were the best team in hockey for the first 2 months of the year or whatever that may be. So call me crazy, though, despite the fact that they've been in first place for the vast majority of the year, and they've had close to the best record, if not the best record in hockey all year long. Believe it or not, I haven't really believed in them, probably because I'm a broken Bruins fan, and I've seen them dominate regular season stretches before, and I told myself last year that I would not fall for it again. I wouldn't do it. I wasn't going to believe in the Bruins no matter what happened this year. I didn't believe when they, started out with the crazy record that they started out with this year. Did not believe, won't believe, can't believe. You can't get me to do it. You can't get me to fall for it. And I think I've fallen for it. I think I have. How can you deny that? How can you deny this road trip? How can you deny tonight? This doesn't feel particularly fluky. And frankly, I kind of felt like the beginning of the year was a fluke. I looked at the talent on the roster and I said they're punching above their weight. And still, they probably were. But to do what they did on this road trip, particularly after going through the rough stretch they went through really before this road trip, in Montgomery yelling at the team during practice, and it really felt like they were reverting back to who they kind of should have been, or at least who I felt they should have been entering the year, which is a good team but not a great team. I mean, the stretch they went through at the end of, after the All-Star break was eye-opening to me. And it kind of made me say, well, all right, I don't think they're all that great. I think they're a playoff team, but this team is a first-round exit kind of team. And then they went on this road trip, beating Florida, beating Nashville, beating Washington, which isn't as big a deal as those other three, and beating Carolina tonight. And not just the fact that they beat them the way they beat them. I mean, early on, they controlled this game. They dominated. Up 3-0 first period, game over. See you later. I mean, check out. Check out from there. That was impressive tonight. It was. They took it to the hottest team in the league and perhaps the best team in the conference. Because if you ask Bob Beers, Bob Beers told Jim Montgomery before the game, he's like, yeah, so this is the best team in the league. Any holes? Told the head coach of the Boston Bruins, the team they were playing tonight, despite the fact that the Bruins have had the best record for the majority of the year, Bob Beers told Jim Montgomery that Carolina was the best team in the league. And you beat them. And it's not just a one-off. You won 4 out of 6 on this road trip. All of those wins against playoff teams. Swayman has turned it around a bit. The goalie tandem is working again. They don't feel like a disaster in their own end. 3 or more goals and all of the wins on the trip. They are firing on all cylinders. And Skaz, I'm doing it again. Will you save me from myself? I am doing it again. I'm falling for it. I'm starting to believe. Help me. Stop me. Don't let me go down this path. I've got 2 more hours to go. Stop this thing right now. I cut my mic Tyler Milliken style. I don't know. Help me, please. Am I falling for this?
Let's hope there's no Tyler Milliken mic cuts tonight. But, we talked about it a little bit during the game. But I'm not fully fooled yet. But this was all you could have asked for out of a Bruins road trip this late in the season.
Couldn't agree more. I didn't think they had it in them. And that's maybe why I'm starting to believe just a little bit. Because I didn't think they had this trip in them. I felt like they were morphing back into the team they should have been after the All-Star break, and for them to turn it around like this, I was not expecting that. So I allow for the possibility that I'm wrong. Maybe I was wrong. Maybe I've been wrong about this Bruins team all year long. And tonight was kind of the first night that I allowed that thought to creep into my head. It's like, you know what? Maybe I got it wrong on this team. Then I have to remind myself, McCarthy, they're the Bruins. What are you doing to yourself? Don't do this. Don't fall for it again. But how can you deny this trip? How can you deny this game tonight? I invite you to. It's 617-779-0985. I invite you to save me from myself, because that was impressive. It was. Let's start early and often tonight. Let's go to Mike in Florida. Hey, Mike, how you doing?
Good, how are you? I was at the Panthers game last week. That was like a playoff game. But my real question is this. You hung up on me earlier this year because you were saying this is a bridge year for the Bruins.
Yep.
They were going nowhere. And I totally disagree with you, and you hung up on me and thought I was ridiculous. Do you still think it's ridiculous? Do you think it's a bridge year and they're going nowhere?
I still think it's a bridge year. I do wonder if they're going somewhere, though.
Well, the only thing I'll tell you is that the NHL is the best, most parity at a highest level, and anybody can win, so nothing's guaranteed. But the Bruins have a good chance as anyone to do very well and go somewhere.
Okay, well, there you go, Mike. And you're not wrong about, National Hockey League having, the most parity, particularly in the playoffs. I'd say baseball is actually a pretty close second. If you want to, baseball hasn't had a repeat champion in 25 years at this point. So, I mean, maybe hockey is a close second to baseball. But either way, I mean, we're pulling strings there. We're pulling at straws, or however you want to describe it. They have a chance if they play this way, and I know that's a simple take, right? But the goalie tandem is working again. They're better in their own end right now. They're scoring a little bit more. I just still don't think they have as good a chance as anybody, because I don't think they're as talented as everybody. I still think they have more. I mean, they have more holes than this Carolina team. I think Florida is a better team on paper, top to bottom. I think the Rangers are better. To your point, Mike, and it's a valid one, it's generally not the best team in hockey that wins. And, well, I mean, you know that as a Bruins fan. Bruins were the best team in hockey history last year. I mean, obviously we know they weren't, but they had the best record in the history of hockey last year, regular season record, and lost in the first round. Same thing happened with Tampa a few years ago. I mean, the Bruins were better than the Blues in 2019. They lost that series. So you're right. There are a lot of factors that go into a 7-game Stanley Cup playoff series. No doubt about it. And it's not always the best team that wins. Frankly, it's rarely the best team that wins. I mean, Tampa going on that run a couple of years ago and winning back-to-back cups and, just being a force, like that's pretty rare in hockey. It is. So, yes, the Bruins have a chance. No doubt about it. If you get a hot goalie or two, maybe it is a little bit different for them. But I've seen this story before, and I don't want to be duped into it. Am I falling for it? You let me know. 617-779-0985. I also have something very important that needs to happen for the Bruins for them to have the best chance to win. To your point, Mike, to give them maybe as good a chance as anybody else. They could use a break here over the course of the next 5 or 6 games, over the course of the end of the regular season. The Bruins need a favorable matchup. And I'll tell you how they get that. Your thoughts at 617-779-0985 and what the Bruins need to do over the final 5 games to give themselves the best chance to go on a run in the Stanley Cup playoffs. Your thoughts. It's McCarthy in for Joe Murray here on the Sports Hub. No commercials, just the headlines.
From the Town Fair Tire Studios, home of the Celtics, Bruins, Revs, and Patriots.
Left side, touchdown Patriots.
Boston's home for sports is 98.5, the Sports Hub. Easily Media Group Station. Sports Hub headlines.
Bruins keep on rolling. A 4-1 win in Carolina tonight over the Hurricanes, a team that won 11 games in the month of March. Brad Marchand scored his 400th career goal David Pastrnak, Danton Heinen also scoring as part of a 3-goal first period for the Bees. Hampus Lindholm added an empty netter. 27 saves for Jeremy Swayman tonight. Back home on Saturday, the Bruins are against Florida. Patriots set to host Drake May tomorrow in Foxborough. They'll also have Jaden Daniels in town on Monday. Tonight marks 3 weeks away from the NFL draft. Texans wiping out the final 3 seasons of Stephon Diggs' contract. He'll become a free agent after this upcoming year. That comes as part of the trade that sent the wide receiver from Buffalo to Houston yesterday. Celtics hosting the Kings tomorrow night after beating the Thunder by 35 last night for their 60th win of the year. Red Sox off tonight. They'll start a 3-game set in Anaheim tomorrow. Headlines are brought to you by Awaken 180 Weight Loss. Don't live next to an Awaken 180 location. Their at-home program has you covered. Receive the same great program and results, then receive free support for life. Awaken180weightloss.com. I'm Matt McCarthy. I'm Boston's home for sports, 98.5 The Sports Hub. Our next update, 30 minutes.
Al Horford.
This is Al Horford.
Al Horford catching slam. Horford for 3.
You're listening to the home of Boston Celtics basketball, 98.5 The Sports Hub.
YouTube. It's a brand new thing. I just got back from a really nice vacation. All of a sudden, we're on YouTube now. Is that right? How do we find this thing, Skaz? Do you I just Googled YouTube 98.5 The Sports Hub. There's got to be a more direct way to do that.
Yeah, you just go to YouTube, type in the Sports Hub. We're right there.
Boom.
Live.
Wow, look at me. My beautiful mug right there. My balding, beautiful mug. You can see me there at youtube.com/ I don't know if it's youtube.com/ the sports. You know how to find it. You've used a computer before, I'm sure. You can find us there. You can interact with us there in the chat. We got all kinds of stuff. I'll see the chat. I'll get to you here in a second. I have another take I'm about to hate. I'm starting to fall for the Bruins. I'm starting to believe in it. Hate that take. That's not good. And I don't want to get duped again. Really need somebody to save me from myself on that. But another thing. I can't believe I'm about to say this. I think the Bruins need to win the President's Trophy. I know, it's a dirty word. President's Trophy. Like, don't you put that evil on me, Ricky Bobby. President's Trophy. They need to win it. Here's why. The difference between the top seed and the second seed in the Eastern Conference, I think, is massive. And if you get the top seed in the Eastern Conference, you very well might win the President's Trophy. Scrolling through the standings here, Dallas has 105 points. You have 105 points. The Rangers have 106 points. You need to get the top seed. Because the difference between playing the Lightning in the first round and playing the wild card team out of the Metro, to me, is massive. Massive. I think that Lightning team is the type of team that will knock you off in the first round. You do not want to face Vasilevsky in the first round. You want whoever it may be coming out of the Metro, be it the Islanders or the Capitals or the Penguins at this point or Detroit coming out of the Atlantic. You want one of those teams. You do not want Tampa. I don't want Tampa. You've seen it before. It's going to be the same story again. But if you get the top seed, and as a result, most likely the President's Trophy, to me, that puts the Bruins in such a better position entering the playoffs. It does. Let Florida and Toronto, beat the hell out of each other for 7 games, then you move on. But if you get the Islanders, the Capitals, the Wings, maybe even the Penguins, that is such a better draw than Tampa. I don't want that team. That's trouble. That's trouble for the Bruins. So yeah, I think you kind of need to win the President's Trophy. As much as I hate to say it. You got 5 games left. You're a point behind the Rangers. I think they have a game in hand. The Rangers playing tonight. Do we know that, Skaz? Let's see. No, they did not play tonight. So it might be a tall task. They've got a game in hand. The Rangers have a much easier schedule than you. Detroit, Montreal, the Islanders, Philly, the Islanders again, and Ottawa. Compared to your schedule, which is Florida, Carolina, Pittsburgh, Washington, and then Ottawa. Final game of the year. So it might be a tall task. You're a point behind with a game in hand for the Rangers, but if something breaks your way and, you're in it, final game or two of the regular season, you got to go for it. I don't want to see guys resting. You got to go for it. You got to get that top seed if it's still in play. Because I want to avoid Tampa Bay. And you should want to avoid Tampa Bay too if you're a Bruins fan. So yes, go win the President's Trophy. God, that's not a good feeling. I'm sorry about that. I apologize. You should never say those words around here, but I think they need it. I do. Am I falling for it? 617-779-0985. Dan in Hampton, you've either fallen for it or you're going to explain why I'm right to feel good about the Bruins after tonight and after this road trip.
No, Matt, I got 55 years in, and I've totally fallen for it too. They are playing right now the way a team plays in April, those last few games, the last stretches, when you can kind of tell. And they are playing right now like a team who is going to win the Cup. They're getting back. Those defensive layers they were putting on in the third period were terrific. I really believe if Patrice Bergeron had known they were going to be this good, he never would have retired. And I'm in.
Okay.
I'm in.
There you go. Well, Dan, I'm kind of in too. After this road trip, I don't know how you can deny this road trip. As much as I want to, as much as my gut as a Bruins fan tells me, don't fall for it, don't do this, McCarthy. Yeah, I agree with you. The way they've played on this trip has been playoff winning style hockey. That third period in Nashville the other night, like nothing, and you close that game out. That's how you close games out in April. That's how you close games out in May. That's how you close games out in the Stanley Cup playoffs. Now, I'm not going to go as far as you, Dan, and say they're going to win the Cup. I don't think so. I mean, to me, this is like the difference. Where I'm at right now is I've felt like they're a first-round exit waiting to happen all year long. And if you get Tampa in the first round, that still might be the case. But they are poised to do some damage in the Stanley Cup playoffs. I still don't think they're a Cup-winning team. But, I mean, are you the type of team? Are you going to go to the second round Eastern Conference Finals? Are you going to look better than you did last year? Look better than you've looked since you went to the finals in 2019? Because it has been a disappointment. The Bruins have underachieved consistently since they went to the Cup Finals in 2019. Running into Tampa a couple times in there didn't help that. But you should have beaten the Islanders. You were better than that team. You should have beaten Florida last year. You were better than that team. What I feel about the Bruins now is I don't necessarily see a letdown coming for them. If you draw Washington or you draw, the second wild card team, I don't think the letdown is there in the first round. You draw Tampa, is that really a letdown? Like, they might be better than you. They probably are better than you. Or at least it's a little bit more evenly matched. And, Vasilevsky might be the best goalie on the planet. Like, that's a tough draw. That's a really tough draw for the first round. But if you do what I think you need to do and win the President's Trophy, I don't see the letdown happening against any of those other teams in the first round. I just don't. And that's where I've probably gotten myself into a bad spot as a Bruins fan, but you tell me. How about Jim in Fall River? Hey, Jim. Jim? Oh, Jim. Jim? James! James! It's not there. Strong. I thought he contributed to the program. Thought he really brought a lot to the table. Well done. Hey, you think you can match that? I dare you to. At 617-779-0985. You think they can match that, Skaz? The people out there?
Tough look for the Jameses out there. Not a great start.
Tough. It's an old family name, too. Like, last name for me. We were descended from King James and his bastard children. That's what I was told growing up.
Lots of them.
Many of them. That's where that name came from. Yeah. I think you can top that. So I welcome you to at 617-779-0985. 0985. We'll get to the comments on YouTube as well. I see you there at Matt McCarthy 985 on Twitter. Let's keep it rolling with the Bruins talk coming your way next. It's McCarthy in for Joe Murray here on the Sports Hub.
You're listening to Joe Murray on 98.5.
Gensel can't trap his former Penguins teammate Danton Heinen. Cycled to Pasternak up top. Wrister he fanned on, gets it back. Walks right circle, center. They score! Pasternak finds Danton Heinen just inside the far circle. He steps it by Anderson. 3-0.
I'm not going to come on the air and poo-poo that. That's real. That's legit. And the question is, how real, how legit, what does it mean for the playoffs moving forward? But the Bruins have been a playoff quality team. They've been playing playoff hockey on this trip, and I'm not going to come on the air and spend 2 hours denying that. That's for sure. And I don't think you can. That was impressive tonight. That was an impressive road trip, and yes, it's starting to make me believe. Perhaps more so than I've ever believed in them this year, and I will admit that was a low bar because I basically never did. I thought it was a bridge year, still kind of think it is, but they are overachieving, and you know what? That's okay, because sometimes you can actually achieve a level of overachievement, like a consistent level of overachievement, and go on a nice long run. And if you somehow avoid Tampa in the first round, and you have to kind of win the President's Trophy to do that, or at least be the first seed in the Eastern Conference, but being the first seed in the East and surpassing New York is probably going to result in you winning the President's Trophy. All right, maybe you are capable of going to the Eastern Conference Finals, something like that. Do you think I'm crazy? Am I taking the cheese? You let me know at 617-779-0985. I do, though, have a reason why the Bruins might be highly competitive in these upcoming Stanley Cup playoffs. Ty Anderson tonight. Bruins are now 22-7-8 against playoff teams. I can't deny that either. As much as my gut tells me to with the Bruins, I can't deny that. What do you make of it? Sam in the truck is a true Bruins fan. He says you're going to lose in the first round. Sam, hard to disagree with that logic, but why?
Do not be deceived. 82 nights a year we watch this team, and all they do is lose in the playoffs. Do not be deceived. Do not drink the Kool-Aid. Do not buy in. I suggest don't waste your time. Don't watch the team. Because guess what? They'll get to the playoffs, they will poop in their hands, and they will clap. Goodbye.
All right, bye, Sam. Very graphic there at the end. Not as graphic as the Tyler Milliken moment today on Zolak and Bertrand, which, Skaz, even in the safe harbor, I don't think we can really repeat. But, man, it was dirty, and it was graphic.
It was definitely dirty, and it was definitely graphic.
Beyond graphic. Might be the most graphic thing that's been said on these airwaves, and that's saying something, by the way.
When you shock Scott Zolak, you've really said something.
Check it out. Carabas tweeted it out. You can go to the Sports Hub podcast and find that out. If you can handle the filth from that man, Tyler Milliken. Nick in Attleboro, North Attleboro. I'm very sorry, Nick. You don't want to do that.
Yeah, North Attleboro. Come on, don't get it mixed up.
Dude,
hey.
I live down there. I shouldn't do that. That's bad.
Hey,
it's bad on me.
So there's a difference, but I forgive you.
Big fan I don't want to go all Joe Murray on you right now, Nick, but big fan of the Town Tavern. You'll find me there many nights.
Hey, all right. I'll look forward to meeting you there.
All right.
Hey, Marchand, not the tough guy he used to be. Pasta, crybaby. This team don't got it in their stones, in their plums to get it done. This team is soft. They win games now. Are they going to win it when it counts? No, they're not tough enough. And I just want to know what answer you have to dispute me against this statement. Thanks. I'll hang up and listen.
Hold on. I want to ask you a quick question, Nick. Does Maroon? He's gone. There you go. Does Pat Maroon change any of that for you? Skaz, does Pat Maroon change, like, the whole toughness thing? And by the way, I don't necessarily think it's a Bruins toughness thing. I think there's a difference between toughness and crumbling against strong forechecks. You know what I mean? Like, toughness I take as like physical toughness. And, I guess there's mental toughness too, and maybe you can question some of that just because the Bruins get tight in big moments, and they have for 15 years. I mean, they have basically forever, not just 15 years. But I do think there's a difference between toughness, you're not big enough, you're not strong enough, or you just kind of crack under strong forechecks, which I think is kind of the trend the common thread between, most Bruins defeats in the Stanley Cup playoffs is they generally run into teams with stronger forechecks than them, and they can't handle it. And they turn the puck over, and that's what happened with Florida last year. It's what happened with the Blues in 2019. I don't know if that's a toughness thing. I don't want to confuse the two. But does Maroon answer any of that for you, Skaz? Maybe, maybe not.
I think a little bit, and I agree with the sentiment that it's not, for me, it's not so much of a toughness thing as it's a size and style of play thing, where a guy like Grzelcyk and Lindholm, it's just not their game to, mix it up in the corners and stuff like that. It's not who they are. So I think the Bruins run into more problems with that. I think the Bruins are a pretty tough team, and the Maroon edition obviously helps in that, category. I don't know how much he's actually going to help you, produce on the ice, but just having him out there should, add into the quote unquote toughness factor. But for me, I don't know if it's so much as toughness as it's just their overall size and style of play.
Yeah, I mean, to me, the biggest concern with the Bruins is their defenseman. And, Grzelcyk size, yes, he gets worn down in the playoffs, so maybe that is I don't question his toughness, I question his size and his ability. And, I think Grzelcyk is the type of guy who, if you just kind of keep pounding him into the boards, it's not that he's not tough, it's just that physically he can't handle that. I mean, he got knocked out of the cup final against the Blues, and that really hurt them in that series because Grzelcyk was such a huge part of their breakout that year, and they just kind of got hemmed in their zone. And Florida last year, the Bruins kept turning the puck over. Is that a toughness thing, or is that just Connor Clifton, who I thought was tough for his size, but he just wasn't that good a player and just started turning the puck over a million times? Or Grzelcyk turned the puck over a million times? Or Carlo, who's a big guy, you can say he's not tough, or is he just prone to a turnover in a bad moment? You know what I mean? I don't know if that's quite a toughness thing, but I hear what you're saying on that. I do. I just think those two things are a little bit different. Maybe I'd question Carlo's toughness just a little bit, but like the team as a whole, I don't know if I'm quite there. Josh in North Carolina. Hey, Josh.
Hey, buddy. So I was at the game tonight. Listen, they had a great road trip. The thing that scared me about tonight was that they played well for about 10, 15 minutes, and then I felt like the Hurricanes were able to pin them in their zone for the rest of the game. Yeah. I'll hang up and let you talk about that.
Yeah. So I mean, it's hard to. I'll give them a little bit of a pass for that because you got up 3-0 and the game was kind of over. And you could say that they weren't as good in the final 45 minutes of the game as they were in the first 15. Yeah. But isn't that kind of natural? I'm just not going to hold that against them. Now you want to say they got hemmed in their own zone. That's a bigger concern of mine because I've seen that happen a million times, the Bruins in the playoffs. And I just think that's like quality and talent on the blue line. I do. I don't think they're good enough defensively. But can the goalies make up for that? Because it's been a while since the Bruins have had a goalie who really makes up for it. Tuukka Rask consistently did not make up for it. Linus Ullmark last year, he was hurt, but did not make up for it. Swayman wasn't much better in, coming in cold in Game 7. I would say the same thing about the Carolina series 2 years ago, where neither Swayman or Ullmark, stood on their head. The Bruins, when they've played well this year, and this road trip certainly is part of that, they've played well when their goalies have been at their best. Swayman's been better. He was better tonight. He's been better on this road trip. It feels like the goalie rotation is working. I ride it, man. I ride it. That's your identity. I don't care if it creates all kinds of drama and intrigue in the playoffs. Actually, for our purposes, drama and intrigue is good. But yeah, just switch them off every single night. It's worked for you all year long. Just do it. Don't mess with it. I'm all for it at this point. I don't know how sustainable that is long term, but for this team in this moment, I think it's the right move. It's all about the goalies, and that's what Joe in New Hampshire wants to talk about. Hi, Joe.
Hey, speaking of Ty Anderson, he was on for an hour today, midday, with the boys, and he and Bertrand had a kind of an hour-long debate back and forth a little bit on how that rotation would work, actually. Beadle brought to the table this idea of odds and evens, really basic, really simple. There's no uncertainty as to who plays what. Just whoever starts game one goes 1-3-7.
Yep.
Somebody else goes whatever, 2-4-3 2-6 or something like that, or two. And then the second part was Ty Anderson. His belief was thinking that whoever you give the game one start to, which it may as well be Linus at this point because he's played better. He just plays until he loses. So in other words, Swayman might not get a game until the third or fourth in the series, barring injury.
Yeah, I would actually go with the odds and evens approach because that's what the Bruins have done all year long, and I don't want to mess with it. I don't want a goalie getting cold. These guys are used to playing every 4 to 5 nights. That's exactly the rotation I want to go into. And I think one of the problems is that, last year in the playoffs, Allmark was the guy, but he was hurt, and it took Montgomery too long to go away from him, even knowing he was hurt, because he knew that Swayman was cold at that point. So he's saying, maybe the hurt goalie still gives me a better chance to win than the cold goalie. And it just got to a point after Game 6 where, Allmark was terrible in that game. It was just obvious he couldn't go anymore. And they went to Swayman in Game 7, and, he was fine, but, he was cold. And that didn't give the Bruins the best chance to win on that particular night. And, they were stuck between a rock and a hard place because they had a cold goalie and a hurt goalie. So, yeah, if you're going with the goalie rotation, I don't want to, get into a point where, if you're going with a guy until he loses, well, all of a sudden, doesn't that allow for, well, they lost this game, but it really wasn't Allmark's fault, so you should start him again. Or it really wasn't Swayman's fault. Oh, they only lost 1-0. They didn't score, and Swayman had 40 saves, and, they lost, so they're putting him in. Nope, just Swayman starts Game 1, 3, 5, and 7, and Allmark is 2, 4, 6, or however you want to break it down. And I would go with Swayman, by the way. I think, he was an all-star. I know he had a bad stretch there, but I would go with Swayman. I think Swayman would be my Game 1 starter, but I switch it off every game no matter what. Because at least if you're doing that, at least it's consistent. And you're not opening yourself up for, well, we're playing this guy until he loses, but, well, he really didn't lose that game, so should he go there again? And all of a sudden doubt and questions can seep in the locker room. If you're a player and you're saying, well, yeah, we're going to kind of do a goalie rotation, but it's going to be dependent on the outcome of the game and all of it. Doesn't that create it could create a lot of problems. I just go strict goalie platoon no matter what. Because I also think it benefits both Swayman and Allmark. I'll explain why. 617-779-0985. We've got 2 open phone lines. Grab them. It's McCarthy in for Joe Murray. A heavy Bruins this hour, coming off a big win in Carolina tonight. Quick update, then right back with you.
Sports Hub headlines.
4-1 win for the Bees tonight. They beat the Hurricanes in Raleigh. Goals for Brad Marchand, David Pastrnak, Danton Heinen, Hampus Lindholm adding an empty netter. Marchand's goal, his 4th.
Solak and Bertrand get you through the midday. Joe Murray gets you right through the night.
I actually spoke with women today.
On the Sports Hub.
Orlov walks to the middle, shoots, deflected. Swayman, a shoulder save, the rebound back door, and Swayman, did he stop Nate just over at the near post?
You got it with the right. They were in complete control. 3 goals in the first period, so it's not like you needed Swayman to be great tonight, but he was good tonight. And he's been good ever since getting out of that funk that he was in coming out of the All-Star break, which to me is, the most important development for the Bruins entering the playoffs. And they are playing playoff quality hockey right now. This road trip undeniably was playoff quality hockey from the Bees. I think Nashville the other night, the way they closed that game, that was playoff style. Tonight, win in Carolina against the hottest team in the league, a team that Bob Beers says is the best team in the Eastern Conference. That's a playoff-style win. Florida last week, playoff-style win. You got Florida on Saturday, Carolina on Tuesday at the Garden. That's a real stretch there, man. That is a real stretch. And the Bruins so far have passed, and they've passed with flying colors to the point where I'm starting to question my doubts in this team. I've doubted them all year long, and I'm starting to say, maybe they are better than I gave them credit for. And undeniably, they are at their best when their goalies are at their best. You could say that for most hockey teams, but the Bruins in particular. It's all about the goalie tandem. It's why they were the best team in hockey coming out of the gate. It's why they've been playing, I think, one of the major reasons they've been playing so well here as of late. But bringing this back to the goalie tandem discussion, the goalie rotation discussion for the playoffs, which, is not exactly, I guess, the most, what's the word I'm looking for here? I don't know. I lost my train of thought on that. It's not the most typical way, and that's still not the right word, but it's not the most typical way to approach trying to win a Stanley Cup, rotating goalies back and forth. But I think you have to. A, because it's worked so well for you for this regular season, why mess up with it? Why mess around with it? They probably should have been quicker to go to Swayman last year in the playoffs. Montgomery has said as much, as admitted that was a mistake. But I think the reason you have to go with a goalie rotation is I don't think either of these goalies right now, where they are in their career, are capable of carrying the load for 7 games, 4 rounds. Like the brutality and the grind that is the Stanley Cup playoffs, I don't think either of these guys is capable of that. I said this last year about Linus Ullmark, and I think I was proven right about it, which is a red letter day for me. McCarthy, right on a sports take. Jot that one down back there, Skaz. I was right about something last year. It's very, very rare. I said that I was concerned about Linus Ullmark playing every game for the Bees in the playoffs because he had never played that many games before. Ullmark played a career-high 49 games last year. I was concerned about him wearing down. He did. Jeremy Swayman has played a career-high as of tonight. Tonight set his career-high in games played at 42. Do you want to then all of a sudden have him play 7 games, 4 rounds, hopefully, if you go that far? Is he going to be able to hold up? I just don't think he's capable of that. I don't think either of those guys is capable of that. So go with the rotation. Every other night doesn't matter. Go with the rotation. Unless somebody really plays their way out of it. But I have a hard time seeing that happening. I know Swayman had his little bump in the road there after the All-Star break. It was more than a little bump in the road. It was a bad month for him. But I have enough faith in him, particularly if it's the goalie rotation every night, that he's going to be good enough. He's not going to play his way out of it. And I just think it keeps both of those guys fresh because I think they need to be kept fresh. There are a lot of guys you can have them play 3/4 of the games. In the season, you only bring in the backup goalie on a back-to-back. Second night in a row, you spell them here every once in a while, and then, they go, every single night in the Stanley Cup playoffs. You can do that with some goalies. I don't think either of these goalies, I think they've proven it. Or Ullmark has certainly proven it, and Swayman is younger but hasn't had the opportunity to prove that he can do it every single night. So all of a sudden, you're going to give the job to Jeremy Swayman every single night when he's never done that in the regular season, let alone the postseason. And the same thing could be said for Linus Ullmark. Like, I mean, I know he played, a little bit more than Swayman last year because he won the freaking Vezina, but never before had Ullmark played more than half of games in a season. Linus Ullmark's only played more than 40 games twice in his career. He's been in the league 10 years. So, like, you're going to hand that guy the job and expect him to be good and effective? You got to do this. You got to do it every single night. Switch it off. One plays 1, 3, 5, and 7. The other one plays 2, 4, and 6. Pick which one you like the most. Have them start game 1. To me, it's Jeremy Swayman. That's how I'd approach it. I don't think they have a choice in that. 617-779-0985. How about Sean and Ashland? Hey, Sean.
Hey, so the thing about Swayman that scares me recently is he's been looking like he's trying to draw a call on these contacts that he's getting in the crease, and I just wish he'd fight through it a little bit more.
Sure. Okay. That's fine. You're going to have to fight through it a little bit more in the Stanley Cup playoffs. Maybe he knows it's coming along the way and he doesn't want to, get run over, get hurt, whatever that may be. Because I'll tell you what, if one of those guys gets hurt, I don't have the faith and the ability in the other one to carry the load every single night. They've never done it before, either of them. So they both need to be healthy. And this is the best way, the most effective way to keep them healthy. And thank you to everyone on Twitter who's saying, McCarthy, the word you're looking for was conventional. Yes, it is not the most conventional way. Word retrieval, not great. Would help me in this line of work, but, what are you going to do? How about Nick in the car? Hi, Nick.
Hey, how you doing?
What's up?
So I just wanted to look kind of ahead at, honestly, the playoffs at this point and seeing, who scares you the most that we could face in the first round versus who you want to face. Because as it stands, we're facing the Lightning with the number 1 wild card, but if we even dropped a few games and played either with, the Leafs or even got the number 1 seed in the East and faced, a mix of the Flyers, Islanders, Capitals, Red Wings, I feel like that would be a much better matchup than, the Lightning for the first round.
No doubt, Nick, that is the approach. As I said a little bit earlier in the show, as much as I hate to say it, you need to win the President's Trophy. You're a point behind the Rangers. They've got a game in hand on you. So if you surpass them, if you manage to surpass them, you are likely winning the President's Trophy. You need to do it. As much as that's a dirty word around here, and I get it. I don't want to hear it. President's Trophy. You need to do it. You got to go for it. And if it's in play the final 2 games, go for it. Have to. Don't rest guys. This is why you have a goalie rotation, right? You can keep guys fresh. You got to go for it. You got to get that easier matchup in the first round because I do think it is a distinctively easier matchup. If I had to pick between Toronto and Tampa, I would prefer to face Toronto, but I don't think it's by a significant enough margin where I try to massage the results to get there. You know what I mean? I don't tank. I don't try and, do any of that because I just don't think there's that big of a difference between Toronto and Tampa. Maybe it's just like a feel thing as a Bruins fan. You've seen them play Tampa in the playoffs. That has not gone well. You've seen them play Toronto in the playoffs. That has gone well. I would also say, though, I don't know if Toronto is as good a matchup for the Bruins this year as they have been in years past, just because I do think my biggest question about this Bruins team has to be their defense. Has to be. And, Toronto's the type of team where, they can score 5 goals a night. And I just don't know if that's the type of club that is the best matchup for the Bees. So, yeah, the result is absolutely, the approach is absolutely to try and go for it. 5 games left. Try and win all 5. Get your 10 points. That gets you to 115. Hope the Rangers don't get there. And then all of a sudden, you get the Capitals or the Red Wings or the Islanders. I feel a hell of a lot better about that if I'm a Bruins fan. How do you feel? Do they need to win the President's Trophy? Do they need to do that? You let me know at 617-779-0985. We continue. It's McCarthy in for Joe Murray here on the Sports Hub.
Don't go anywhere. There's more Joe.
McCarthy in for Joe Murray tonight. We're going until midnight. That's true, right, Skaz? We are going until midnight. I was on vacation, and all of a sudden I come back. Night show's 7 to midnight and all that. Baseball Hour is back. I'll be on with Milliken and Maz tomorrow night for Baseball Hour. I'm joining you after the Celtics and the Kings. So fair warning on that. I do want to get into some Patriots stuff here momentarily. My thoughts on the draft and the coverage of the draft, more importantly, and the absurdity surrounding the coverage of this NFL draft, particularly as it pertains locally to the Patriots pick. I got some problems with some people, and it will be an airing of grievances for me, and we will get to that momentarily. Some of my colleagues, I think, have really let me down as part of this draft coverage. Not you, Skaz. You haven't let me down yet, but there are a lot of people here at this station who I have a problem with. We're going to address it. But you've been heavy on the Bruins, so we continue to take your thoughts on the Bees. Mitch in Montreal, hanging out at Chez Paris. Hi, Mitch.
Not Chez Paris tonight, but I have definitely been there. So, for three, I'll go back to 1979. Terrible loss in Game 7. Horrible loss. I don't know if you remember. I'm living in Montreal. Couldn't go to school for a week after that. Then we go to 2019. Horrible disappointment, losing in Game 7. Horrible. And my third highest disappointment was last year. So it's very difficult to have any confidence. Now, I will say one thing. Mm-hmm. The one thing that will make them perhaps go deep in the playoffs is their goaltending. That's it. They don't have the best forwards. They don't have the best defense. But I believe they have the best duo of goaltending in the league.
Yeah, Mitch, I totally agree with you on that. That is the Bruins' best chance. It's the goalie tandem needs to work. It's not conventional, as we've talked about, but it needs to work. And I think their best approach, is trying it. And going with the model that I laid out, that I guess Beetle laid out earlier today, which is every other night you switch it up. Doesn't matter whether a goalie's hot or not. You just do it. You trust it. You trust the process. You keep going back and forth. And as I mentioned a few minutes ago, I think one of the reasons you do that is I don't think you're going to get the best out of Swayman and Ullmark if they have to play back-to-back. If they have to play 2 games in a row. They haven't done it all year long, so all of a sudden you would expect them to do it in the playoffs, which is why I disagree with the Ty Anderson approach of, you stick with a goalie until you lose a game and then you make the switch. I just don't do that because I think that increases the likelihood that you lose a game because I don't know if Linus Ullmark is capable of playing every other night. I don't know if he's capable of that. The guy's never played back-to-back nights before ever, essentially. And when I say back-to-back nights, like he's always played a split schedule or very close to it. Only twice in his career has he played more than 40 games in a season. Probably won't even get there this year. 49 games last year, and he wore down. 41 games the year before that. I don't know if he's capable of it, and Swayman's never been asked to do it. Again, tonight, Jeremy Swayman set his career high for games played at 42. I think you have to go with the goalie tandem, and doesn't matter whether you win or lose a game, it's game 1 Swayman, game 2 Ullmark, or the other way around. I think that's the approach that you have to take. 617-779-0985. Bruins superfan Xanadude is on the line. Hi, Xanadude. What's up?
I'm doing great. You know what? I'm looking forward to this year's playoffs. I'm going to tell you why and compare it to last year's team. Okay. So this year's team, I would say, is a middle-of-the-road team who has somehow found their way into first place. And I feel better about that than last year's perfection. Because look what last year's perfection did against a bottom-feeding team. Somehow the Florida Panthers took down the all-time best regular season team. Because my advice for Jim Montgomery, don't think. Last year he overthought. He should have waited to put Bergeron in. He should have waited to put Krejci in. He should have gone with the rotation, and instead he listened to some analytics. I think this is a team that's just going to go and play, and they're going to look like the 2008 Bruins, who are just like, you know what? Let's just play playoff hockey, and we're still going to be watching hockey in June. because they're not going to think and they're just going to go and do, and not being perfect is the best thing in the world for this team this year.
You know what, Xana, dude? I would agree with a lot of the things you said there. I don't quite know if they're going to be playing in June, but I think you just laid out, the reasons why the Bruins can be successful in the playoffs. And, the pressure of last year is not on them. It is kind of a different team. You're going to go with the goalie tandem this year, which you didn't last year. And, it is what it is. Like, you're overachieving. This was supposed to be a bridge year. I think some of the guys in that room probably understand that. And does that make it a little bit better for you when when mid-April Stanley Cup playoff rolls around? Hopefully May. Yeah, it might. And you mentioned, Bergeron. Are they better off without him? Are they? They were up 3-1 until Bergeron returned last year, and I think it's an unfair take because Bergeron was hurt. But Bergeron came back, and all of a sudden that's when Montgomery started panicking because he didn't know what lines to put together. He broke up Bergeron and Marchand for the first time in 15 years when you were up in a closeout game at home with the chance to move on, and all of a sudden you break up Bergeron and Marchand. Like, that didn't make any sense. And Montgomery started panicking the second he felt the pressure of that series really start to ramp up. It was almost easier for him when Bergeron and Krejci weren't out there. And, it was Coyle and Zacha, and, those were the guys you had. It was almost a little bit easier for him. You don't have to necessarily contend with that this year. You are playing with a little bit more house money than last year. That doesn't mean that there's no pressure. That doesn't mean that, it's a free pass or anything. No, I mean, I need to see Jim Montgomery bounce back because I thought he was a disaster last year. I thought he was terrible. I thought he was one of the reasons they lost that series. I think he panicked, completely and totally panicked, and the team sensed that panic and panicked themselves. And they don't need a lot of help to panic because for 15 years, they've pretty much done that in big moments, big games, big series, you name it. So, are they better off because they don't have the pressure of last year? Yes. Are they better off because they don't have Bergeron, though? Are they better off because it's just a little bit different because Bergeron isn't here anymore, Krejci isn't here anymore, and is just a little different this year? Yeah, that might be the case. I do think it's fair to question. I do think it's fair to ask and have a discussion about. Not they're better off without Patrice Bergeron, hard. No, but let's have an adult discussion about it. Let's talk about how maybe the old guard might have held them back a little bit. Maybe it created a little bit too much pressure for Bergeron's last go-around. Got to win one for Patrice, all that. I think that was a bit of a factor last year. Sure, of course. So we can have that discussion. Let's just have it in a reasonable, fair, and adult-like manner. Is that what we do? Here at 98.5 The Sports Hub, are we reasonable, fair, and adult-like? Skaz?
That's the standard we set.
Sure, and I think we meet that standard every single day. I think our analysis, too, is always spot on. I think we have a documented 15-year track record of being spot on, never reactionary, never, I just think we're just smart, reasonable individuals here. Except when it comes to our draft coverage. I got some problems. I got some problems with my colleagues. And Skaz, they need me to save them from themselves. Draft coverage, problematic here at 98.5 The Sports Hub. We'll do that. No commercials, just the headlines. Then right back with you. It's McCarthy in for Joe Murray.
WBCFM HD1 from the Town Fair Tire Studios, the home of the Patriots, the Celts, the Revs, and the Bruins. Boston's home for sports is 98.5 The Sports Hub. Beasley Media Group Station. Sports Hub headlines.
Bruins with a 4-1 win tonight in Carolina. They take 4 out of 6 on the road trip. Brad Marchand, his 400th career goal. David Pastrnak, Danton Heinen also scoring. Hampus Lindholm picked up an empty netter. 27 saves for Jeremy Swayman. Florida comes to town on Saturday. Bees will take on Carolina again at home on Tuesday. Patriots going to be hosting Drake May tomorrow in Foxborough. Also have Jaden Daniels in town on Monday. 3 weeks until the NFL draft. As of tonight. Celtics hosting the Kings tomorrow night. They beat the Thunder by 35 last night. Red Sox off tonight. They open up a 3-game set in Anaheim tomorrow. Cutter Crawford will be on the mound for that one. Headlines are brought to you by Cape Cod Lumber and CCL Homescapes. 100% employee-owned, your go-to independent lumberyard. Partner with CCL and CCL Homescapes for all of your building needs right in Abington. I'm Matt McCarthy on Boston's Home for Sports, 98.5 The Sports Hub. Your next update, 30 minutes.
Hold everything 98.5 The Sports Hub has to offer in the palm of your hand.
I need that.
Listen live. Get breaking news.
I need it.
Download the Sports Hub app.
And when you have these pro days, you get the scouts, you get the coaches, general manager, directors of player personnel, directors of scouting. And what I heard from other general managers, not from the Patriots, but other general managers, is that Elliott Wolf, the de facto general manager for the Patriots, is in love with J.J. McCarthy. And right now, the feeling is that J.J. McCarthy, or at least Elliott Wolf, is pushing for J.J. McCarthy. And that seems like it's going to be the pick. I could understand the love for J.J. McCarthy. I don't agree with it, but I understand it because whether it's J.J. McCarthy or any of these Michigan kids, they have acquitted themselves well during the interview process. You watch J.J. McCarthy. He's got great confidence, great moxie on the field. He's a great leader. I question his physical skills, but that moxie and that confidence has come over in the interview process. We saw it with Bryce Young last year, for better or worse. If you remember Bryce Young, he was being characterized as a genius during interview process. And teams fall in love with that type of player, especially at the quarterback position.
That is Tony Pauline, NFL draft expert, on with Tom Curran, talking about J.J. McCarthy and how he thinks the Patriots are tied to him. Elliott Wolf wants him. To which I say, where the hell is this coming from? J.J. McCarthy, 2 months ago, 3 months ago, would anybody have said J.J. McCarthy to the Patriots at number 3? Anybody? You out there? Bueller? This draft coverage is nuts, man. It's nuts. And this is not a Tony Pauline thing. I mean, he's just hearing what was going on around the NFL because all of a sudden J.J. McCarthy has gone from being a second or third round pick at best to maybe being the Patriots pick at number 3. Any of that seem a little crazy to you? It seems crazy to me. And maybe it's just because I'm not a huge NFL draft guy. Maybe it's because I'm Mr. Baseball over here, and I have decided that you need me, baseball boy, to save your draft talk, your little football talk. I got a problem with the way that we're talking about this, and I'm the person to save you. Save you from yourself. Skaz, I think the football people are letting us down, man. I think they are letting us down. This is the biggest draft of our lifetimes as Patriots fans, most of our lifetimes anyway. And our draft people, our draft analysts, the football people, here and everywhere, they are letting us down. The hell is wrong with you people? J.J. McCarthy is a perfect example of everybody overreacting to pro days and the combine and the interview process and everything that has to do with nothing about football. This whole thing, this whole process, the last 3 months on J.J. McCarthy has nothing to do with football. It has everything to do with the window dressing and how you get all fired up for the draft, and he's rising up the board. J.J. McCarthy rising up the board. How? Why? When was the last time J.J. McCarthy played a football game? When was the last time any of these guys played a football game? January. And you know who I wasn't hearing about in January? J.J. McCarthy. Oh, the overreaction to pro days in the combine, the inconsistency, the take flip-flopping. From my colleagues, my friends, my beloved colleagues, my respected colleagues, hashtag be better. The inconsistency from you people. What are you doing? Show some conviction. Don't overreact to any of this stuff. Stop being prisoners of the moment. The J.J. McCarthy thing is a prisoner of the moment take. It is a prisoner of the moment opinion. They've taken him take hostage. My colleagues here at the station in sports media take hostages, if you will. J.J. McCarthy. I've got Scott Zolak apologizing to me and the rest of us over J.J. McCarthy for ignoring him. Literally apologizing. But then he watched JJ's pro day and he goes off. Oh, the footwork. Oh, this or that. All that. I never heard Zoe mention JJ McCarthy once when we were talking about college football in the semifinal and the final. Not against Alabama, not against Washington. Never did I hear Zoe and anybody say, that guy should be the third overall pick. He's really good. Where was that? It's all happened over the last 3 months when we're not playing football games. All the football people, the real football people, and listen, Scott Zolak knows more about quarterback play than I'll ever know. I mean, the guy's a legitimate bona fide expert on it. But all of a sudden, it's like J.J. McCarthy rising up the board. Since when? How? It's not just Zoe. How about Drake May? Man, I heard Cerrone on Felger and Maz a few weeks ago. Cerrone battle. Oh, you can't take Drake May. Can't do it. No, he sucks. He's going to be terrible. Then his pro day rolls around. Cerrone goes to it because he's down there and was wowed. Oh, my God. Blown away. Now Cerrone would take him third overall because he watched him at a pro day. Come on, man. Pick it and stick it. Cerrone, man. Pick it and stick it. I thought he sucked. Did I mishear that? I thought Cerrone told me Drake May sucked. Now all of a sudden he's the third overall pick. Phil Perry told me in February that that Drake May was Mitch Trubisky. Said he heard that from an offensive coordinator. Then like a month and a half later, I'm hearing that Drake May is the best quarterback in the draft and Phil would take him not just first round, third pick. If he had the first pick in the first round, he'd take him there too. First overall. What the hell happened to this guy is Mitch Trubisky? You football people. What's wrong with the football people? Why are the football people letting me down? Why are the football people, big, tough football people, what are they doing? Why are they flip-flopping on this? So I've decided that it's my role as the non-football person to save the football people from their inconsistency and their take flip-flopping. This is bad. They're shameful take flip-flopping. So I'm here to save you. And the reason why I'm the person to save you is I am not an NFL draft analyst. I don't watch pro days. I don't watch the combine. I don't dedicate 7 full days of my life in February or March or whatever it is to watching the NFL combine. I don't do that. I have better things to do with my life. And that's why I am actually just as good and arguably better at analyzing the NFL draft and who the Patriots should take and who they should not take than the actual real football people. This is paralysis by analysis. It is over-analysis. It is overreaction. Oh, well, did you see him at his pro day? No, I don't need to see him at his pro day because I watched him play football. And nothing you're going to do at a pro day, good or bad, is going to change my opinion on you as a football player based on your football games. This is why I'm the perfect person to talk about the draft, because I'm not a prisoner of the moment like apparently everybody else is. All the football people breaking down every single, well, did you see him? Well, look at him at this drill at the combine here. This fourth throw in his pro day, look at this little out and he does this. He's throwing against air, man. He's throwing against air. He's wearing shorts. He doesn't have a 6'5", 325 guy trying to rip his head off. I'm sure the throw was great. Well, I mean, look at the mechanic here. Oh, God. Oh, who cares? Is he good on the football field? Yes or no? So you know what I did? I watched college football this year. This is how I analyze quarterbacks. I watched college football. After the Dallas game, when it became apparent that the Patriots needed a quarterback, I started watching a whole ton of college football because I knew the Patriots were probably going to be in the market for one. I analyzed the quarterbacks then. I don't analyze them now because I think that's the only way to judge a quarterback. Unlike the football people who keep telling me that, this guy sucks and then all of a sudden he's great because they watch the pro days. So I'm not going to be, Cerrone flip-flopping on Drake May. And I love you, Cerrone. I'm not going to be Zoe all of a sudden talking about J.J. McCarthy. And I love you, Zoe. Not going to be Phil saying Mitch Trubisky, then saying he's the best guy in the draft. Not going to do that. I'm just going to be the baseball guy who watched the football, and I'm going to tell you what I think. And you're probably going to tell me, McCarthy, this is why you're a baseball guy. You don't know anything. But the best player I saw was Michael Penix. And my opinion on Michael Penix has not changed because I haven't watched the combine and I'm not watching pro days because I don't think any of that matters. I think it's a way to get fooled. The way I think a lot of us are changing our opinions, and it's just one giant mind F. It's a mind F. The best guy I saw was Michael Penix. I would take him. I'd take him at 3. You might say, McCarthy, that's nuts. Take Michael Penix at 3. He's the 4th quarterback or 5th. He's the 5th quarterback on the board. Well, he's the number 1 guy on the McCarthy board, so I'm taking him. Am I wrong? Probably. Usually am. Hell, if we did take batting averages, I'd be batting below the Mendoza line. They would rename it the McCarthy line. But at least I'll be wrong with honor and dignity. That's what I'll say. Matt McCarthy, honorably wrong. Unlike my colleagues, those flip-floppers, shame on them. Shame, shame, shame. Thank God you have the baseball guy to break down the NFL draft for you. We've been let down. The football nerds have let us down. Except for one. Doing some breakdowns today of the big board. I'm going to dive into it because, again, Matt McCarthy, NFL draft expert. Clearly. I can tell you there's only been one consistent person in this market on the quarterbacks. Everybody else is flip-flop. Well, except for me. I mean, I dug in on Penix. That's the guy I want. That's the guy they should take. There's only been one consistent person in this market whose board has not changed. I will tell you that, who that person is, and ultimately what that all means. What it means and who the Patriots should draft based on the big board of this person. We'll do that next. It's McCarthy in for Joe Murray.
You're listening to Joe Murray on 90.
best guy I saw in college football this year. Yep, he has bum knees. Yep, he's old. Nope, he's the best guy I saw. So that's just me. Am I wrong? Maybe. Well, it's draft analysis, so probably. That's the way it works. But at least I'm sticking to my guns. At least I felt he was good in January, and I feel he's good now compared to, well, everybody else who liked one guy in January, now doesn't like that guy in January and April, didn't think 1 second about one guy in January and now loves him in April, and all of those things. I am consistent. Consistently wrong, but damn it, it's consistent. Thank God you have me. Adam Schefter, on his latest podcast today, had the following. I think the signs continue to point to Jaden Daniels being the number 2 overall pick. Caleb Williams 1, Jaden Daniels 2. Then the Patriots would be on the clock at 3 with the possibility of taking Drake May. I haven't asked you about this yet, Skaz. Are you a Drake May guy, yes or no? And perhaps more importantly to the program tonight, were you or were you not a Drake May guy in January, and has your opinion changed dramatically like everybody else's opinion?
No, so my opinion hasn't changed dramatically, but I'm not like the biggest college football guy. I will say I watched more this year than in years past because of the Patriots and where they're at. But for me, it was always, these are the 3 quarterbacks. It's Caleb Williams, it's Jaden Daniels, it's Drake May. The Patriots have the 3rd pick. Take Drake May. Maybe that's too simple, but when you're this bad and you're in that spot, do you really have any other choice? That's what I keep coming back to, is it's a 3 quarterback draft. You have the 3rd pick. Take Drake May.
Simple is best, right? That's my opinion. My opinion is very simple. Too simple, you might argue. Penix was the best guy I saw. Take Penix. I'm not trading down. I'm not messing around so somebody can jump you and take the guy you really want. If there's a quarterback you really want, and that guy is Michael Penix, I'd take him 3rd overall. I'm the only person on planet Earth saying that, probably for a reason. Again, baseball guy doing NFL draft analysis. But based on all the other analysis I've heard, damn it, I'm qualified. Because at least I'm consistent on this.
We preach consistency.
Who doesn't want to be consistent? Instead of, Drake May sucks. No, wait, I saw him at his pro day. He's actually really good. Wow. What? I thought he sucked. Nope. Michael Penix was the man this year. Is his knee bad? Are both of his knees bad? Yep. Well, that's life. Eventually your knees wear out. I know that's a simple way to look at it. He's had traumatic injuries to his knees. Have you seen him throw a football? Did you see him in that semifinal game against Texas? Did you watch that? That was good.
Oh, yeah. He's a stud. He's great at throwing the football. But the thing with Penix for me is the injuries, the knees, everything. It's just he's older, too, which scares me.
He's not that much older. He's 24.
Yeah, he's not. I think May might be 24, too, but like a younger 24 right around there. And the other thing, too, is there's a good chance they all suck.
Drake May is 21.
Okay, so he is younger. Yeah. 21, you coach him up. And even with that, though, like there is a good chance that they all suck. No doubt. You still have to draft the quarterback.
Oh, that I agree with. And anybody who says, well, no, take the wide receiver because it's the safer position. No, this is a quarterback league. You got to find the right quarterback, which to me, so if I'm making the decision and you're probably screaming at your radio, McCarthy, thank God you're not, because you'd take Michael Penix 3rd overall. Don't mess around. Don't trade down. If you draft the transformational quarterback, it doesn't matter whether you draft him 3rd, 6th, 12th. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter whether you get an extra 1st-round pick next year, an extra 2nd this year. If you get that guy, it does not matter where you drafted him. Just take him. Just take him. And if you think that guy's Drake May, great. I hope you felt that way in January, but if you think that's Drake May, okay, then you should be calling in saying, McCarthy, I've loved Drake May forever. Take him at 3. But I don't know, I watched that national championship game, and Penix was not great in that national championship game. He took a beating in that game. I admired his toughness in that game, but he wasn't great in the game. But I didn't hear a single person coming out of that game saying, no, we're talking about the wrong guy. Because, there was a lot of Michael Penix talk for a week in January because of his performance in the semifinal and leading up into the college football national championship game. There was a ton of Penix talk, There were a lot of eyeballs on him at that point. And nobody in that game against Michigan came out of that game and said, yeah, no, J.J. McCarthy's better. You're wrong about Michael Penix. There wasn't a single person out there who said that about J.J. McCarthy. Now, all of a sudden, J.J. McCarthy looks sexy in shorts and looks great throwing against air. So you should take him third overall. What? Huh? None of that makes sense. Explain that to me. Again, baseball guy, explain that to me. Where are the football people calling in to explain how? Well, no, you got to understand, McCarthy. You don't get this. Go back to to watching your sport. This is why it's different. This is why the games didn't matter, and it's all about the pro day and the combine. This is why J.J. McCarthy's gone from a third-round pick to the third overall pick in a matter of 2.5 months, where no games have been played. Does that make any sense to you? That's crazy talk to me. Crazy talk. But that's the NFL draft in a nutshell. Guys rise, guys fall, because for no reason at all. Everybody gets all fired up about pro day performances. That's how Zach Wilson went second overall. That's how Jamarcus Russell went first overall to the Raiders all those moons ago. Oh, did you see him at the pro day? Skaz is back there shaking his head. Jamarcus Russell. That's how that happened.
Yeah, he could throw it 80 yards in the air.
Now, listen, if we're talking about guys who can throw it 80 yards, please bring me Joe Milton in the 6th round just so I can hear Alex Barth do his Joe Milton analysis forevermore.
We're turning Alex Barth into like one of those pole dolls where we mention Joe Milton. He just, say the line, Alex, say the line.
Say the line. It's like, pulling Woody's string. There's a snake in my boot. Say the line. And you can just feel him sighing every time he says it. If you need a guy to throw it 80 yards, Joe Milton will throw it 80 yards. If you need a guy to throw it 5 yards, Joe Milton will throw it 80 yards. But you know when Alex Barth said that? January! He didn't say that in April. He's not all hot and bothered over J.J. McCarthy because of his pro day. He's not saying, I hated Drake May forever and I watched him at his pro day, and now I'd take him. He's not doing that. So I just want to give a shout out to the only draft analyst with honor and dignity, Alex Barth. I looked this up today. Would you like to know Alex Barth's quarterback big board, the top 4 quarterbacks on his board in January when the college football season ended? Would you like to know that, Skaz? Caleb Williams, Jaden Daniels, Drake May, Michael Penix, 1 through 4. You know what his big board says today? Caleb Williams, Jaden Daniels, Drake May, Michael Penix, 1 through 4. No changes. That's consistency. That's honor. That is analysis right there. You pick it and you stick it. This is what I felt when they were playing the football games, and my opinion has not been altered. I have not wavered in any way because I saw a guy out there in shorts. Because I saw a guy at the Underwear Olympics run the 3-cone drill or whatever drills quarterback runs. Because, well, actually, unlike Barth, I don't spend 7 days of my life watching the combine, but he does. And even with that, he doesn't really change his analysis. He uses it to supplement his analysis. That is NFL draft coverage with honor and dignity and consistency. Bravo. Because it's apparently impossible. Good for him. I checked that out today. I said, even Barth must have gotten caught up in the hype. The biggest draft nerd of them all. Nope. He hasn't. Give him time, though. He'll morph into a true football person yet, where you just change your opinions on all of these quarterbacks based on their pro days. Because apparently that's what the football people do. Thank God you have me here to save you. Baseball boy Matt McCarthy. Hey, speaking of baseball, the Red Sox are 5-2. I'll be damned, the Red Sox are 5-2. I do need to get into the Sox. We'll do that next. Quick update, then right back with you.
Sports Hub headlines.
Good win for the Bruins tonight. Really good win. 4-1 over the Carolina Hurricanes. Goals for Brad Marchand, David Pastrnak, Danton Heinen, Hampus Lindholm, adding an empty netter. It's now 400 goals for Brad Marchand. No Joe tomorrow, too. I'll be back again. That is a fair warning to you. Be on the baseball hour with Maz and Milliken. My first appearance. I was out west last week.
Please try and keep Milliken in check.
He was actually criticizing Kenley Jansen the other night. I think he's growing up a little bit.
Oh, I'm not talking about that. I'm just, his foul. He's got a foul mouth.
Unbelievably dirty, filthy comment today on. I can't. I had Skaz. I have never used that term ever. I know what it means. I think we all know what it means. If check out Jared Carabas on Twitter, you'll find the cut. I have never used that in any context.
I thought that term was reserved for donuts, honestly.
Wow. I mean, that was. I'm not even going there. I don't even want to say the word. It will forever just give me shivers, like a chill up my spine of hearing Milliken talk about what was happening to Alex Cora. Oh my God. And no, it had nothing to do with glazed donuts. Just I can't. I'm sorry. I feel like you should even dump me for using the term glazed donuts. But Jesus, Milliken, we'll do our best to keep him in check. But I did miss last week's opening episode for the most baseball excuse though of all time. Skaz, do you know why I was not able to attend opening week on the baseball hour?
That's because you were seeing your guy.
I was seeing Bruce Springsteen, yes, which is the most baseball excuse ever.
That's like an excused absence for baseball.
Oh, my God. I mean, that is just... I'm surprised we even had a show. I mean, Springsteen's on tour right now. How am I supposed to follow baseball when Springsteen is touring? He opened with Boom Boom tonight in Los Angeles. Nice little cover. Let me tell you, that man is healthy, and he is firing on all cylinders right now, kind of like the Bruins. I've seen Springsteen 16 times. San Francisco last Thursday was one of the best shows I've seen. It's better than watching the Red Sox that night, that's for sure. But the Sox have been good. They've been entertaining, competitive, with the caveat, of course, that they just played the Oakland A's, and we'll get into the A's news in a second here. What's happening with that franchise moving to Sacramento, of all places, godforsaken Sacramento. Whew. Wouldn't wish that on anybody, even the Oakland A's. But yes, it was the A's, and yes, it was the Mariners over the weekend in Seattle, and I don't think that's a particularly good offense. But the Red Sox have pitched really well. First time through the rotation was good. Pivetta didn't have his best stuff yesterday, but still managed to win the game. I don't know if Bayo's been great, but he hasn't been awful. And they're 5-2. 5-2 heading into a weekend series with the Angels, who actually, I believe, lead the AL West. They're tied with the Rangers, 4-2. I mean, what does it matter at this point? The Angels have been, I guess, better than anticipated, but the Angels still stink. So you should win 2 out of 3 against the Angels if you're, serious about contending, for playoff spots this year. Like, those are the types of series you need to win. But the Red Sox are in second place. Again, we're 7 games in, but they're 5-2. And here's what I'll say. I would not put a lot of stock into what you've seen this week. I give them credit for not folding the way they did in 2019, and the season was over before they even came home after an 11-game West Coast trip. So they've done that. They've come out. They've been competitive. They've played some decent enough baseball. I don't know if they were. I think they were better in the Seattle series than they were in the Oakland series. If you're playing a real Major League Baseball team, they almost certainly lose 2 out of 3 in that series. I don't think they played great. And I'm not sure if the pitching can hold up, the starting pitching. Mostly because I just don't think that Whitlock and Houck are going to stay healthy. Pavetta's kind of been a workhorse, but what about Brian Bayo? Is he going to be your ace? Is he going to be able to handle that workload? Is he going to be effective enough? I think there's so many questions in the rotation. It's been really nice to see. Undeniably, they've upgraded with Andrew Bailey as the pitching coach. So positive things there, but I don't know how long those will last. I am not sold just yet. Here's where I am sold on the Red Sox. Here's what I will say they are definitively better at than last year. They can actually field a little bit. They got problems at second base. That error from Valdez yesterday was bad. 9th inning, bad. Pablo Reyes should have been out there. That was a mistake by Cora. Valdez cannot be in these games late. He is a butcher in the field. Pablo Reyes needs to play second base late in these games. But they're still better up the middle. Trevor Story, I'm not his biggest fan. I think he's not great at the plate. Had a good game the other night, but has not been a good hitter in Major League Baseball for quite some time. But he makes them so much better at shortstop. They actually have a guy who can field that position, which was their fatal flaw last year. And they actually have an above-average Major League center fielder, which they have not had for the last couple of years. Hernandez was hurt, was never the same after 2021. They have struggled defensively in the outfield. They've struggled defensively everywhere. And this team is not going to do that to the extent that they did that last year. And as a result, you will win more games. Because of that, you will be definitively better than they were last year. Now, we'll see if the lineup's as good. We'll see if the pitching is as good or worse or anything like that. But they are no doubt better and more athletic defensively, and that will help this team. You won that game the other night, Game 2 in Oakland, because Cedon Rafaela tracked down a ball in the right center field gap that Jarren Duran would not track down despite his speed. Red Sox fans, watch him play the outfield. He's not particularly good. Outfield is more than just being fast. It's about getting jumps, getting good reads, taking good routes to balls. Duran doesn't do any of that. Sometimes he makes up for it with his speed because he's faster than anything, but he's not a particularly good outfielder. Rafaela is an excellent outfielder. He is very good. And this has been, the report on Rafaela for years. I don't know if he's going to hit. I don't know about that. But he will make your team better because he will track everything down. And to have a major league quality center fielder and a major league quality shortstop, what a difference. What a difference from last year. And I give Craig Breslow some credit for this. Not too much credit, but here's where I'll say there's a difference between Breslow and Bloom. And Bloom signed Story, so he deserves... I don't want to give him credit for that because it's still not a good signing because he can't hit a curveball, but he's a really good fielder. So you sign $23 million a year, Alex Gonzalez. Congratulations. But the difference between Breslow and Bloom right now is you have 9 guys playing the positions they should be playing. That never happened once under Chaim Bloom. 2021, Bobby Dahlbeck, first base. 2022, Bobby Dahlbeck, first base. Can't happen, shouldn't happen, never happened. 2022, Christian Arroyo, right field. How many times did they put some random guy at second? How many positions did Bobby Dahlbeck play over the years? Justin Turner at second base last year. Kike Hernandez at shortstop last year. Every single night, there was somebody out of position. There was somebody where you could point and say, the hell are you doing? How is this roster built this way? And isn't it refreshing? Isn't it nice to have a roster that I don't think is all that good? All right? So, I'm not going to, give, all the Red Sox, flowers and bouquets and all of that. But isn't it kind of refreshing just to look at a lineup and say, well, actually, everybody out there is playing the position they should play. Doesn't mean they're necessarily good at it with Valdez, but you haven't put him in right field yet. If there's still Chaim Bloom, Valdez would have been in right field and Rafaela would be in AAA to manipulate his service time. It's just a little bit of a difference, and all of a sudden you're going to be a better baseball team as a result of that. Doesn't mean you're going to be a good baseball team. Doesn't mean the positive things you've seen from the first week does not mean those things are going to hold up. I would not be convinced of those things. I actually have some real questions about their lineup. People don't talk enough about this. I don't think they have any impact right-handed hitters. I do not buy in on Trevor Story being an impact hitter. We'll see if Tyler O'Neill, who, crushes lefties, we'll see if, he's a good fit. You hope you get a Hunter Renfroe-like season out of him. Actually, if I had to, put a bet down right now who the most impactful right-handed hitter on the Red Sox is going to be, I'd probably say O'Neill. But that's still not good enough. He's, he's a fine player and all that, but he's probably a platoon player on a really good team. And that's just not and he's not, a 3 or a 4 hitter. He's a 6 hitter. He's, a little farther down the line. He's going to give you some power, give you some pop, all of those things. So I've got questions about this team, no doubt about it. I don't think they're a 5-2 baseball team. I think they're much closer to 500. If I had to bet, I think the Red Sox are a 78 to 79 win team again this year. But it has been refreshing to look at that lineup and say, well, actually, everybody kind of belongs there. Doesn't mean they're good enough, but hey, that's a start. That's kind of nice, isn't it? And as a result, partially, they're 5-2. It's not all bad. I enjoyed this first week of baseball. And we'll see if they carry it through in Anaheim. And they should before they come back home. But let's see them against the real competition. Because I don't know if they've encountered much of that here over the course of the first week. I think that's fair to bring up. Got the Orioles coming into town next week. Not that they've been great to start the regular season, but it's kind of an easy start to the year for the Red Sox. They get the Angels again next weekend. Cleveland's not great. Get Pittsburgh, Cleveland again, then the Cubs. Like that, you don't really get into the real big time competition until June. You get the Braves, the Phillies, the Blue Jays, the Yankees, the Padres. The Reds aren't bad. June is when the Red Sox season starts. They're going to have a good first 2 months of the year. I'm going to tell you that right now, if their starters stay healthy. 617-779-0985. I did mention the Oakland A's. One of the most unbelievable comments I've ever heard in sports was made today. We got to share it. We'll do it next.
Don't go anywhere. There's more.
beautiful ballpark, but also being able to watch some of the greatest players in baseball, whether they be athletics players or Aaron Judge and others, launch home runs out of this very intimate, the most intimate ballpark in all of Major League Baseball for the next 3 years.
Moon sent actors to the World Cup when North Korea made the World Cup. I think that was in South Africa with the Vuvuzelas, and Kim Jong-un's like, we need to send fans. So they paid actors to go there. Are those the people showing up to the Oakland A's? Not the Oakland A's anymore. The A's, the Athletics. The Sacramento A's, their announcement today. So the lease is expiring at the intimate ballpark. You know about that. And this is not the same type of intimacy that Tyler Milliken was talking about today on Zolak and Bertrand. It's none of that. But the owner of the Oakland A's, John Fisher, comes out and says, I can't wait to watch Aaron Judge come here and hit home runs. What? Have you ever heard anywhere in sports somebody being like, I can't wait to watch ourselves get our asses kicked. I can't wait to watch opposing players come in here and outperform us.
I honestly think he probably couldn't name an Oakland Athletics player. That's why he said Aaron Judge.
Can you name an Oakland Athletics player?
Just the guy they sent down recently.
Oh, that's right. I was actually horrified. The other night, I accidentally named five players in the Oakland A's starting lineup. That was terrifying.
Should be institutionalized for that.
No, I'm ashamed. I tweeted this out. I was like, this is a problem. I can name 4 guys. And one person tried to guess who I named, and he named somebody that I already knew, and I just didn't see him because the A's were in the field first. So I didn't see Rooker, the DH, and I knew him because he was an all-star last year. So I actually named